double thumb technique. It's super fun to play with, but depending on how you practiced it, you might be limiting your choice of notes, your phrasing, and your speed. One of the best examples of what the double thumb technique can do is Victor Wooten's Cherokee. This is where he uses double thumbing to play long melodic lines in a variety of ways, and when I was working through this piece, it really changed how I practiced the technique. So in this video, I want to share with you 5 tips to ensure that you're in control of your technique rather than the technique being in control of you. Okay, so this first tip is all about developing that control. We're going to take an E major scale starting on the 7th fret of the A string, and we're going to do 3 notes per string. I'll put the tab on the screen as well with some double thumb specific notation. Now, given that we've got 3 notes per string, it's natural to use the double thumb technique to go down, up, pluck all across the strings. But one of the coolest things about double thumbing is how easily it allows you to cross strings. So let's try a different approach. Now I'm going down, up, pluck, pluck with my middle finger on the next string. And as you can see, my middle finger was already there ready to go. So it's much more efficient. And so playing the whole scale in this way, the pattern would be down, up, pluck, pluck, down, up, pluck, pluck, down. Now see what happens when you loop the pattern. You'll notice that the second time through, the first note of the pattern is going to be played with the pluck of your index finger. This can feel a bit awkward at first because we're used to starting patterns with the downstroke of the thumb. But only being comfortable starting patterns with the downstroke of your thumb can be really limiting, especially when you're doing improvisation or long melodic lines. So a great way to break out of that cycle is to practice your scale patterns, but every time you do, start the scale with a different element of the double thumb technique each time. After doing this for a while, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable using any aspect of the double thumb technique at any part of the measure. You'll be able to play up and down the neck and across strings with ease. But what happens when we take the same idea just a little bit further? Now, this second tip is more challenging because it's going to force you to be more deliberate and more dynamic with the double thumb technique. Stick with that same major scale pattern, but this time you're going to accent every 5th note. Not many people practice this, but this is one way that you can get true command over the double thumb technique. Where this idea gets really cool is when you loop the pattern, accenting every 5th note. What you'll find is that the accents are going to fall on different aspects of the double thumb technique. So incorporate this into your practice routine, try different groupings, maybe every 3rd note or something like that. You will see the benefits. But as you know, control and clean technique isn't just about what your thumb is doing. So now we're going to take a look at the fretting hand. One of the challenges with the double thumb technique that you've probably already noticed is that when you're ascending, it can be very easy for the lower strings to ring out and create extra noise. And I know, you can use a hair tie to mute the strings. And in fact, I actually tie a sock around the neck, so there you go. But it's a great idea to be able to do this just with your hands. So how can we solve this if we're not going to use a hair tie? Well, let me show you an example with this E minor arpeggio. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my index finger to fret the root note and the minor 7. It's barring across the strings. And what this means is that my index finger is also acting as a mute for when I'm ascending. It's muting those lower strings so that there isn't that extra noise coming out. And we can apply the same idea to the E major scale that we were playing earlier. And it's probably a good idea to find your own way to do it because it's quite a specific comfort thing. Now let's take a look at one of the biggest things players struggle with when they're learning the double thumb technique. Something I struggled with when I was learning the double thumb technique is that I felt like I could only get the technique out, especially at speed, by playing harder. It felt impossible to produce a good consistent sound by playing lightly. But if you want to improve your efficiency, if you want to conserve your energy, and if you want to produce more expressive tones with double thumbing, then it's definitely something you're going to want to practice. So take a bass line you know, take a melody that you know, and use double thumbing, but play as lightly as you can. And if you want an example of how beautiful this can sound, then check out the intro to Victor Wooten's Norwegian Wood. And I know I'm talking about Victor Wooten loads in this video, but he is the best, so... Okay, now I just have one last experiment for you to try to see where you're at with your double thumb technique. One thing I noticed early on with my own playing is that when I would play fingerstyle, I always felt like I was more expressive and my note choices were more varied. But when I used the double thumb technique, suddenly I was playing a whole new set of notes that I wouldn't ordinarily go to. It was almost like my note choices were being dictated by the fact that I was playing double thumbing. This happens because even though we can do a lot with the technique, we still might lack some familiarity that is limiting us in some ways. So one experiment you can try is record a groove or record a solo using fingerstyle or a plectrum or whatever technique you feel the most free. Just record it. And then take that same recording, listen back to it, and try to play the same exact thing using the double thumb technique. What you might find is that there could be patterns or phrases that you're going for when you've got total freedom over a technique that you're not going for when you're using double thumbing. So this is a great exercise that is going to help you develop your technique to match your musical ideas rather than your musical ideas being controlled by the technique. All right, well, thank you so much. I really hope this video was helpful. I hope it was helpful to somebody. Let me know. And if you want to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Okay, cool. Have a good day.